Morning, everyone. I am here with Matt Williams from More Digital Marketing, just getting his last sip of coffee in there before we went live. How are you, Matt?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. Thanks for
Brilliant.
joining us this morning. I
Thanks for
felt
having
it was
us.
really topical to kind of cover some subjects that you specialise in. So
Yeah,
if there's any sort of small local businesses out there, and we work quite heavily in the community with small local businesses, it'd be great to have a conversation of what they could potentially be doing with their websites and branding and a bit of e-commerce we were talking about for traders as well.
yeah,
Maybe some IT related tips for people that are struggling with broadband at home as well.
indeed.
So a few things that we can cover. But
Yeah,
first of
yeah.
all, who's Matt? Who's More
Who's Matt?
Digital Marketing?
Brilliant. Well, so yeah, as it says, my name's Matthew Williams, Matt Williams. I'm from More Digital Marketing. And More Digital Marketing is a website design and digital marketing agency based in Bracknell in Berkshire. I started the company just over 12 years ago now, from almost nothing to having a large range of customers. We design, we build, we create e-commerce sites, and we optimize for Google. We do everything that a small business, medium-sized business will need to help them get online, establish an online presence, and thrive in the online world. Now, I started life as a trained graphic designer. Believe it or not, I actually went to uni and learned how to design properly. And this was in the late 90s, really early 2000s, when the internet was just in its infancy. And I came straight out of uni, straight into the world of web, because I was a little bit bored of the page designs that were very static and they weren't really interesting me too much. And this new world of the internet, which looked really ropey back then, before mobile had existed, before the iPhones, we had something called WAP, which was a real text-based internet solution, and it was awful. And back then we only had one screen size as well. It was the old 900. You remember them, the square 4x3 shape websites. Everything was just, one size. And Google, again, was in its infancy. So I grew up designing, taking what I learned at uni, proper design, grid design, fantastic page layouts from some of the top designers, and then wanted to apply it to the world of web. And that's sort of my intro to the world of design. And it was sort of 2003 time that I went to work for a company designing websites in the medical world. Believe it or not, it was a big growth area. My old boss had bought up all the top level domain names, so we owned them all. And we were building websites on top of those and trying to get them to the top of the search engines, because what he understood was that if you owned all of the websites at the top of Google, then you would get most of the traffic through, you'd get all the referrals through, you'd win all the business. So it was key that we learned how to optimize these websites and gave Google what it needs from their web. And we went out for a good five years, I think I was with them, designing and building websites for the medical industry, private practice, consultants, that kind of world, and just really learning what Google's after for the website to rise to the top. So I've gone through, the ringer with Google of all the algorithm changes. There was the algorithm change that basically took off most of the website because everyone was using these really bad techniques, sneaking keywords in with white text and backlinks and stuffing keywords and all the stuff that Google's saying no these days, all the illegal stuff that we could get away with to make you number one. We were doing it back then, and we'd put in some really nice techniques as well, and these added in, so we had a really core base of what a website should be. And then, the algorithm change came along, took out some real big hitters in the world. The likes of BMW, that their website went offline, and you could see why, what they were doing. They had to apologise and got back online. So, I've sort of lived through most of what Google's done, and I take that knowledge and experience now and apply it to small business websites, medium-sized business websites, to help them grow and thrive within Google. And every day's a school day for me. We're always learning. Google's always changing, getting better. So we've always got to change and get better. So trained designer turned coder, because I taught myself to code over the last, 17, 18 years now that I've been doing this. So I've had to learn code as well as the design as well. So I now can code and design, can speak both languages to get the result the customer's after. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and where I've been in the past.
Even as someone that's quite into sort of tech and marketing and brand, it still wows me when I hear someone talk like that, because of the amount of information that you just don't know unless you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of business owners out there at the moment, whether they can trade, whether they can't trade, whether their services operate, whether they're going online. What advice would you give to the local business owner in Crowthorne, Moorfield, Binfield, wherever they may be? Maybe
Yeah.
their shop front is not open at the moment, but
Yeah.
what advice would you give them for their brand, for their website? What would you say to those guys out there at the moment that have got time at home to work on
Yeah.
things like this?
Yeah, sure. Well, the key is to be adaptive, really. The world we live in is very fluid. As you can see, the rules of engagement have changed. The fact that people have money to spend is still there. People are still able to spend their money. We're not in a recession where there's no money. We just have a boundary. People can't go outside. So first of all is to be aware that you're not the only one. There are hundreds of thousands of people in the same boat, and you have to be adaptive. So you've got to start thinking on your audience. What are your audience doing? Where are they? And how are you going to reach them? Because your audience, my audience, the guys at home, the local businesses, their audience are sat there all day now on the internet. They can't go outside and do the things they used to. They can't turn up to the shop front and walk in the door. They're going to their screen on their smartphone. Now we have the ability, and they're really using that. And there's sort of a 5-year general sort of plan of the adaptiveness of the population to accept online. And we've sped along in the last 12 months that sort of growth of users online. So they are currently sort of searching for you and wanting to find you and engage and buy your products and services. So what you've really got to think is, okay, we may have a sort of online presence, but how do we engage with our audience? And whether that's you've got the website, the Facebook, the YouTube channel, you've got to start nurturing that in one form or another, and start to generate content that the end user is going to want to see from you. So for example, if that's a shop, and you didn't really have an online presence, then you want to make sure you're establishing an online presence so they can actually come and shop from you. But also think, well, how do they want to shop? Do they want to do the click and collect? What kind of data or information am I going to put online for them to consume? How are they going to see our product? We have a pen, so it's a pen, but showing someone with a small video, how this pen writes, why it's better than the competitor's pen, photographing it nicely, giving them all the information that they're looking for. And if you try and put your feet in the shoes of your consumer, where are the frustrations? So when you go to someone else's website, does it lag? Can you not find the product easily? Does it not really show you with good lighting what the product is? Can you see both sides of the product? So we're really playing to what the end user, your customer, wants. And then we're trying to facilitate that and then pushing that out across all the channels that we've got. So if you haven't established things like a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or an Instagram, and you've got beautiful product, then really you should be in that space and showing your wares, but also making it easy for the consumer. Because if you think of Amazon and how easy it is to consume from Amazon, it's a click, one click, and you've bought. We need to take that kind of logic and apply it to our own customer base, because they've got other things going on. There's distractions. They can pick up and put you down very quickly. Now that you've got to captivate them and you've got to engage with them. So what is it that you can do in terms of content generation and your online presence, from moving them, say, from Facebook to your website? Are you linking correctly? When they land on the website, have you sent them to the direct page, not the homepage? A lot of businesses make that mistake where they just list their homepage. And what you're now expecting is me, the consumer, to do half the work. And I'm lazy, because I just want to be served up. Amazon's taught me that if you just, click, I can have. So we've got to think in those kind of steps. We've got to make it easy for the customer to get to the thing that you want them to buy and serve it up easily. So, like I said, there's things like your Facebook page or Instagram, but also Google, in terms of search, because you're now not the only person, business that's now in this space. 12 months ago, you kind of had a luxury. If you were doing SEO, building your website, building your brand online, you were kind of in a luxurious place where a lot of your competitors hadn't yet cottoned on to the fact they needed to be doing this, despite people like me telling them all the time, get on it, build a web page, optimize it for Google, make sure you've got your social medias pointing back, establish your brand online, and push it back to your site, and then nurture that online. And your competitors were sleeping, they weren't doing it. Well, now they've been forced online. So we've got a lot more indicators that many more businesses have now entered the search market. It's getting far more competitive. So, you may be lagging behind. But, things that you can do is make sure that your Google My Business page is up to date. If you haven't got one, create yourself a Google account, free Google account, and establish your Google My Business page. And you just do that simply by typing in your business name. Google will try and suggest that this is the business details that I've scraped out of the internet and where you are. You can claim that business listing, put in your location, opening times, contact details, and there's a fun word called NAP. Have you got your have you had a NAP? And have you had a NAP on Google, which is your name, address, and phone number? The key pieces of information that someone can contact you from Google. Make sure you establish them. Establish your Google Map listing.
Quite easy to do, is it, Matt? It's quite easy to set up for someone that's maybe not too IT techie.
Yeah, really, really simple. So again, just sign up for your Google account. Google the term Google My Business, and Google will offer you a login area. And it's a very, very simple form to fill in these details. There's a field for your opening times. There's a field now in there for the COVID policy. What are your COVID opening times? So you can really adapt very quickly. And again, your Google Map listing as well, you can very quickly just pop in your address details. Google, if you haven't already got one, Google's going to send you a postcard with a verification code on it, and it will come in a couple of days. So if you haven't already established that on Google, you will get a postcard. You need to pump in that code for your Google Map listing to go live. So, wherever your business address is, check in a few days' time that Google's dropped a little postcard through with a code just to verify you are who you say you are. And that's it. Once you've got your Google Map listing, if someone is looking for a cake shop in Crowthorne, you're going to appear in that top block of map. And the Google Search Console or the search results is always changing. And you're probably noticing now when you're doing things, the map listings are coming up. You're getting things like video search results come up, image search results come up, and even featured snippets, which we can discuss in a moment, where you're answering questions. And those are really appearing now. And if you're not on Google Maps, again, your competitors potentially are. People are seeing that list of 3 to 5 businesses in that map listing. Clicking through to those, the business is going over there. It's not coming into you.
Goes back to that convenience that you spoke about, I think, doesn't it? People have got very lazy and very anti-adverts. So they want that process to be as simple as what Amazon makes it. And I know from talking to a lot of people, I wouldn't say anyone's anti-Amazon, but I think people are very aware of the money that Amazon have got. And if they could go local as conveniently, they would prefer to do it. I know my brother is in the marketing space, and he always goes on about if he can spend it locally, whatever it may be, a baby grow or box of nappies or a cake for a birthday, he'd much rather do it locally than he would on Amazon and sort of fill their pockets as such. So it's interesting. People want to do it, but you have to make it easy.
That's right, and that's what we've not been doing for many years, and this is where Amazon are accelerating, because they've made it so easy. They've trained people to do it. Now we can train the local community because they want to. Like you say, people are screaming out to buy local, and this is why we're seeing in search results the near me tag come in. So they're looking for a children's clothing supplier near me, because they want to buy local. They want to support the local economy. They want to give back to the community, and they want to see local businesses thrive, because the alternative is the American corporates and the money going out of the UK and filling Jeff Bezos's pockets. And he's got enough money. Really,
he's okay.
He's all right. He's not going to go poor. He's not going to come and say, "Yeah, please, Ian, can I have a penny?" He's not. So we've got to take that from Amazon, and Amazon is setting the benchmark of where we've got to be. So, that's where we've got to, that's our destination, is to compete with Amazon. And, local businesses can do it, but you've got to follow very simple processes and get some of the basics right. So, making sure you've got your Google profile set up. making sure you've got your social media channels set up, making sure that the website address all links back from all of these. The amount of people I come across where they haven't linked their website in their Facebook or their Instagram. We're making or putting these barriers in front of people engaging with us, and we've got to take those away really simply. So
it's creating simple paths. So I think what I'm taking from there and sort of translating it for everyone that's listening is make sure you've got a lot of avenues back to your website with your branding, social media, Google, etc. A lot of avenues back to your website. Make sure the link is going. If someone's topically talking about baby grows and you've got all sorts of baby related stuff, don't send them to the bottles or the homepage. Send them to the baby grow section as an example. And where with Google, as you mentioned, Google, the way that I've always tried to explain it when I'm talking to anyone is Google is a ton of questions. It's just questions, questions, questions. And if your website is the answer to those questions, then Google will give them the solution. But if you don't have the answers to the questions your customers are asking Google, it's not going to show your website because it's not the solution to their problem. And that's the way I kind of describe it.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right there. Google is both complicated and simple at the same time. Google's aim is to serve up the best quality content it can to its audience, period. Content is always king, has been since day one. Since first I started in Google, content has always been king. Google is getting better at serving up the best result it can to its audience, because if it does that, you're going to go back to Google and get the next result and the next result. So, that's the simple element of it. There's over 200 indicators that Google's checking against on your website to make sure you fit that criteria, which is the complicated part. But if those words aren't on your website, so we'll maintain with the baby grow thing for some reason. But if baby grows aren't on your website and you've got, children's t-shirts and children's, trousers and whatever else, but you want, you've got a ton of these that have come in and you need to sell them. If you don't have a page for that one thing with the term baby grow on your website, Google's not going to think you're relevant at all. So it's simple, but there's lots of things in there you need to do. And in terms of structuring that bit of content, I always advise my clients to look at a newspaper. When you pick up the newspaper, you see a headline, a sub headline, an intro paragraph. You've got sub headers, and these are key indicators where you can inject your keywords and keyword phrases. So, for example, the baby grow, you'd want your page title to be baby grows.
It's simple, isn't it?
Really simple, but the amount of people I see that have sites that don't even conform to that, there's a tag called a H1 tag, a header 1 tag, and that's key. It's most editors will have heading 1, a bit like in Word. So when you're looking at your Word editor, in there it will have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. You want to use those, but heading 1 must always contain the keywords of the page, must tell Google what the page is about. Now you mentioned answering questions, and that's now a newer thing in Google. But if you're not answering questions with the actual question that someone's going to type in, so, what size baby grow does a 3-month-old need? That should be the question title. The answer should follow underneath, because Google has a featured snippets area that what you're seeing now in search in position 1 is when someone's typed in that exact question, that exact question is on your web page with the answer underneath, Google's potentially going to serve you up as number 1. How much traffic are you going to get off the back of that?
And Matt, with all of this stuff, with local business owners, small and medium, there's so much to go through, which is amazing. We could sit here and probably talk for 2 hours and sort of bounce ideas. But what would you offer a service to these local business owners to give them an overview of their website and give them, some constructive critique for them to work on at the moment? Is that something you offer?
Yeah, we do. Oh, I tell you, it's one of my favorite pastimes, actually pulling people's websites apart, because my job is to build, optimize, and get you to the top of the search engines any way, shape, or form. So I rip people's websites apart. So we offer a free website review. where any business owner will review it. I've got some key indications of what I'm looking for, what makes a good web page, what Google's looking for, and we'll probably give you two, three, five pointers that you can take to your web person. You can, if you want to engage with us, great, but it's to encourage you guys out there to take stock and look at your website and think, am I doing the best I can to get up the Google search rankings and offer the best experience that my customers can have? Because if we're not honest with our customers and we look at a web page and it's loading poorly, or the page structure's bad, or there's a problem on there, if I don't highlight that to you, Google's going to look at that and not list you, and you're going to wonder why you're never climbing the rankings of Google. So yeah, we're more than happy to pull anybody's website apart for them and give them some indicators on, look, you could be doing X, Y, and Z with it. For me, we love to talk to people about websites. It's the thing I eat, sleep, live, breathe this stuff. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about their website to see where they could be going and what they should be doing. And sometimes it's purely the platform they're on. So there's some of the off-the-shelf web building platforms. You can take them and optimize them so far, but they have some key flaws in them, which if you're really serious about it, you've got to come away, rebuild. So, and we understand that with customers, because the budget doesn't always allow. You can do enough to get you to a point to then bring in some cash to then move to the next point. You can stage it, really. So,
I spoke to a lot of business owners in the last kind of 18 months, and every now and then there's a moment where I see exactly what they're passionate about, and you see the twinkle in their eye, and they fidget a little bit, and I can tell how passionate you are about that analytical approach to looking at someone's website and giving them the solutions to where there's clear problems that you can identify that others can't. So as that's a free service and it's a contact, then get in contact with Matt. I hadn't planned on plugging anything, but you can see from him bouncing around how excited he is to do that. And at a moment like now, why not?
Well, exactly, because we can reach X amount of people and we're busy doing what we're doing, but everyone needs help and you can't always see the wood for the trees. It's always getting that third party view on what am I doing, where am I going wrong, because we're hitting a brick wall. And if we can bounce ideas off of one another, and you and I are part of a networking group that where we can do that, this privileged position that we're in, that we can ring each other up and go, I've got this concern, could you just give me 5 minutes and help me demystify what's going wrong here. And if you've got the experience and the number of years looking at this stuff, you just roll it off the tongue. It becomes easy. So yeah, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about their web concerns. What's working, what's not working. Best practice for them. If they've got ideas that's working, bring them and share them. Because we can then share them with others as well. Like I say, I'm always learning, and this is what Google this coming year. We got a bit of a heads up, which was nice last year. We don't know when it's coming, but there's a new algorithm change that's going to affect a lot of businesses. And they held off and thought, COVID and Brexit and everything else would be nice. Google being nice is unheard of. But they gave us a heads up. So there's two things. One is user engagement and page load speed. And these are two of the newer indicators. A lot of the tools we use have changed to facilitate this. And what that means is that if your website isn't loading in under 3 seconds, so it's a 3-second rule. If you're not loading in under 3 seconds, Google is not deeming you, particularly great, because it's got to be fast. Your web page has got to load fast. So if you've got lots of heavy imagery that you've just taken off your camera and you've just uploaded straight away and it's 3-4 meg, you need to optimize that down and bring it down, because it's going to contribute to your page load speed, which is going to increase something called a bounce rate. I know I'm talking garbage here to a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh, what are you going on about?" But if you go on your web page or a competitor's and it's not loading in under 3 seconds, you want to address some concerns there, because if that's happening to you, then about 60-70% of your audience is going away again, which is contributing to your bounce rate. If you've got a really high bounce rate, Google's looking at you going, well, everyone's coming on, but they're going away again. So you're not that relevant. So I'm not going to serve you up, because why would I serve up a website that's really slow and people aren't sticking around? I want really good quality sites where people are staying. So that's that thing.
And then makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think, Matt, as well, one thing that I've learned since starting my business is when I was at a sort of medium-sized company previously, is you're trying to always bring people in. So you're always trying to bring experts in. Actually, talking to consultants like yourself and expert companies like yourself is just vital for people. So yeah, I mean, we've gone on for 25 minutes there quite comfortably. I'm sure we could do more.
Wow.
I know people have got to get on with their day, but get in contact with Matt. We'll put your contact details in the links below in the comments. And there's some super, super useful advice there. And I appreciate your time, because hopefully people found it helpful. And yeah, get in contact with you. You can see where you're passionate about things. You know your stuff. And I think at the moment, for a lot of local business owners, now is the time to see, how can I level up my business? How can I take it to that next level? And clearly you've got the answers to some of those questions that people are asking. So yeah, appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Good to talk to you. Good to
Yeah.
talk to you.
Have a good rest of the day. I'll speak to you soon.
Lovely. Cheers, Matt. See you later.